Yoel here on MMA Oddsbreaker. UFC 213 this Saturday, July 8th happening. Nunes versus Shevchenko is the main event, of course. A huge fight coming up with Amanda and Valentina. Really, I don't see that fight going any differently than the first one did, to be honest with you. Both girls are better, but we'll get into that in a minute. This co-main event is absolutely effing scary. It is the two middleweights, the best middleweights in my mind out there, the most violent middleweights out there right now. Yoel Romero looked incredible in his the open workout that he was in. I'm wondering if he's carrying too much muscle though, because he is so shredded and ripped. I mean, he looks great, in the pre-fight, but is that going to carry into the fourth and fifth round? And Robert Whittaker is a guy that just doesn't seem to make any mistakes. He's just as technical in the first round as he will be in the fifth round, and just exploits if you screw up. Really, of the two, first, Nick, I want to ask you, which one was the harder one to draw the line for the main event or the co-main event? Which one was tougher?
Probably the co-main event with Whittaker and Romero for sure. I mean, you just don't know how much respect either guy's going to get from the general betting public out there, because both of them have been on an extreme roll. Both of them are going to get a decent amount of recognition, and especially with Whittaker. I mean, he's kind of had this quick meteoric rise real quick, right? I mean, he rose up to the top. I mean, he just moved up to middleweight again not too long ago. And you know what I mean? He's been knocking off the top opponents. So that's a huge factor of it all, I think, because of course Romero's been on this run for a long time. I mean, he's beaten Machida, he's beaten Weidman. So you know that he would get the respect, but to gauge the amount of respect that Whittaker actually gets, that was a little bit difficult. So it was definitely a tougher line to set out of the two. And you know what? I opened Romero as a very, very slight favorite, and the bettors out there flipped the line, and Whittaker is a favorite. I opened at 130 even money, with Romero having the edge. Right now it's minus 115 for Whittaker, and the comeback is around minus 105 the other way for Romero. So that's how much respect Whittaker has earned recently from the bettors out there.
That's a huge deal. And it's also, too, it comes to being so technical with his striking. Somebody told me they like to call him Bobby Knuckles, because he's so good with just being patient, not making any mistakes, and waits for you to make a mistake and immediately capitalizing on it. You don't have to make the same mistake one or two times or three times or four times. He's catching the very first time you make that mistake. He's catching with it, and that's why he's able to put guys down very, very quickly. And let's be honest, it's becoming now where he's becoming a superstar because of his ability to be able to fight. In 1904, you would think more people would already know about this guy, but really it was his explosion back on when he moved back up to middleweight that actually brought him back to the top of the table. Yoel Romero, though, he got caught one time for cheating. His supplement was tainted. They went through the whole process. It wasn't something he took on purpose. It was by accident because it was in a supplement that they didn't disclose, and so the supplement's now on the ban list. The whole chain is, but Yoel still has that hanging over his head, or Yoel still has that hanging over his head. Do you think Romero is going to be able to live that down no matter how he wins that fight, or is that one of those things now it's going to be gone and the bettors really don't care?
The bettors don't care. I mean, that's they really don't. In fact, if it gives a guy an edge, they're going to go in there. If they think that he's using, they're going to bet him that much more or whatever, Yeah. So I think it is going to be a stain on his profile for a long time, just because, look, I mean, he's a physical specimen. I mean, look at the guy. He's a monster.
Yeah.
So, not knowing much about steroid use, I mean, for those fans out there that don't realize, like, how it transforms your body, I mean, just from a common Joe's perspective, he looks like a guy that could possibly be using steroids. Yeah. And that's not, claiming that he is. It's just with the muscle, the definition of his body, I mean, how powerful he is. It's just, like I said, just a common person out there would, if you got to see him, you would think, yeah, this guy's, definitely enhancing his performance, to say the least. But, it is what it is. They're testing thoroughly now. So you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And if he's cleaned up his act, good for him, because he is just an athlete. He's special, man. I mean, that's all there is to it. So say whatever you will about the guy, but he goes out there, he performs. He has a great resume right now. And he's got that gold on his mind for sure, and he's had it for a while. So he's that close to finally getting that strap.
Well, you open the lineup with Yoel being the lead, and now it's being the favorite, and it's flip-flop now to Robert. So if I'm listening to you, you're thinking that Romero's going to win the fight, just by the way they opened up the line.
Well, not necessarily, no.
Okay.
I think I've always been a fan of Whittaker. Whittaker's made me some cash, coming under the radar for a while. But now, again, the secret's out there. It's not a secret anymore, Everybody realizes how good this guy is and how special of a fighter he can be with his knockout power. So, yeah, I mean, not necessarily. It's a pick 'em fight. So I gave Whittaker a lot of respect to begin with because of what, like I said, what Romero's accomplished. you know what I mean, and opening the line that tight, then that's automatically some respect for Whittaker. I actually think he's going to get the job done. I think Whittaker, his cardio is a little bit better. I mean, both of these guys can end it with one punch. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's definitely that kind of fight that the first person to make a mistake, like you said, the other person capitalizes, the fight's going to be over. So I think they're both explosive enough that, it could go either way realistic. So Pick'em's a fair spot to be in. But I do believe I give the slight edge to Whittaker. I think his cardio probably is just a tad bit better. I mean, these guys are going to be worn out, though, as it progresses. Both these guys are going to be, dragging it. If it goes, just imagine round 3, round 4, they're both going to be huffing and puffing, I think. But I just favor Whittaker a little bit. I think his conditioning is just a little bit better. And I think, you got to respect the youth factor a little bit as well. I mean, he is the younger fighter. You know what I mean? There's more upside still to him. But Romero, what he's accomplished, especially at the age of 40, remarkable, really, because he doesn't look like a 40-year-old out there. Right. Not at all. You know what I mean? But again, if there's any kryptonite to his game, as the fight progresses, though, if he gets into deep waters, he's definitely gets in a little bit of trouble because he starts slowing down. But credit to him, he has finishes in the third round. So he slows down. He looks like, he might be gassing out, and then he goes out and finishes somebody. That's how much power this guy has, even late in the fight. So he's always dangerous. So, again, this is a very tough matchup. I think Pick'em's about right, and that's kind of where it's floating. It's going to go back and forth. It is a Pick'em type of fight, and we're going to continue to see heavy two-way action on this fight.
I do think a lot of people will start betting up Romero once they see the weigh-in and get the weigh-in pictures coming in. Because if you look at both guys are physical specimens, but obviously Romero's the more physical specimen of the two. There are a lot of bettors that are like, oh, it's a Pick'em fight. I'm kind of stuck. I don't know which way to go. Oh, well, now I'm going to have to go with the guy that looks better. The guy that passes my eye test is the guy I'm going to have to go with. Because really in the fight game, sometimes you just don't know. You just don't have a clue what's going to happen when these guys are evenly matched up. Yes, Romero is the number 1 contender. Yes, Whittaker is the number 3 contender. It is still very difficult to pick these two fighters. It's a very close matchup still.
Yeah, it really is. Like I said, it's a coin flip. And that you got to say a lot, for both fighters. They're at the top of the game. I think they both deserve a title shot. For sure. They both definitely earned the right to be in this spot. So the winner, I think, has a really good chance, obviously, to defend the belt against Michael Bisping if that is the next matchup for them. You know what I mean? I think Bisping's probably in trouble no matter who he faces. If he faces Whittaker, Whittaker probably defeats Bisping. If he faces Romero, Romero probably beats him as well. So I think we're going to see the new champion, undisputed champion, crowned from the winner of this fight here.
Yeah, and because remember, ladies and gentlemen, this fight is interim middleweight championships for the interim belt, not for the actual belt. Then sometime in November, I thought these guys were supposed to fight. But a side note, GSP, I guess today, texts Dana White, and he texts Bisping, let's fight in November 4th, whatever that venue is, whatever the date is, whatever show that is, November 4th, let's fight. I'm like, well, now all of a sudden you're coming back in the works. Like, this fight was supposed to be happening right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're supposed to see Bisping and GSP be fighting right now this weekend. And it's not happening. So now all of a sudden GSP is like, hey, let's fight in November. But I got to be honest with you. Whoever wins this bout is going to have a legit gripe to go, no, hold on. We were waiting on you to begin with. We have to have an interim belt because we had to wait on you. Mike got hurt his knee, I believe, and then we're waiting on that to come back. So we have an interim belt. We have to unify the belt. So I'm sorry, GSP, but you're going to have to get pushed again. You're now going to have to wait. And if you want to fight, you get to fight one of these two killers. Because I believe you're right, Nick. One of these two guys, whoever wins this fight, is going to be the champ. So now you're looking at, who's GSP going to fight? Is he going to fight Whittaker? Is he going to fight Romero? Like this, that all of a sudden, it becomes a complete headache. Now, like, why? Don't do it. Just now, all of a sudden, you got a guy that's like, maybe this is just me speaking out of turn. You may not agree with me, but GSP goes, hey, I'm coming out of retirement. Oh no, I'm going back into retirement because there's nowhere for me to fight. I'm out of here. Like I'm not going to take the risk. Which makes sense. So that's just my take.
Dana kind of wants GSP at this point. Well, I heard last. I don't know. It's always constantly changing, of course. And I understand it. Again, it comes down to the business perspective of it. When you got a popular fighter, a guy that sells like GSP does,
yes.
The options are open for him. You're going to kind of cater to him a little bit more, right? If he wants to fight for middleweight, he's going to sell more buys out of the group of fighters. Face it, when GSP returns, his name is going to definitely carry whatever card that is. So you got to give the guy respect for sure in that regard. And if he wants a welterweight title shot, he was the best welterweight of all time, really.
Yeah.
So he should be able to get that. You know what I mean? If he wants to wait in line and get a quick title shot as soon as that division's cleared up a little bit, he should be able to do that. If he wants a middleweight title shot, I don't agree with that. I think he should kind of step back into welterweight, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And I do think that the winner of this fight should get the next shot against Bisping. Yes. And then if GSP wants to get in that mix and wants to fight one of these animals, hey, so be it. Let him go. I think it's a bad decision, though, for him, honestly.
And I said that from the very beginning, that I understand if GSP wants to come back in and him getting an immediate title shot at welterweight, I totally am in support of that, and I totally agree with that. But for him to hold up the weight class now at 185 and having to force an interim title because of everything that kind of went on, and of course, like I said, Mike got hurt, Bisping got hurt, he had to get pushed himself, so now there's interim title, that now if he holds up the weight class unifying the belts because he wants to fight Bisping, I don't really agree with that. I do agree with him, though, like whoever the hell is going on, whoever the champ is, which could be any one of 3 killers down at welterweight right now, then he definitely should be able to jump in there. But the reality of it is that the fight to be watching on this card for UFC 213 is the Romero Whittaker fight. This is the fight that everyone's really interested in because there are so many factors that are happening outside the fight that actually make this more interesting. Okay, are they going to face Bisping? Are they going to face the winner of Bisping GSP? Are they going? I mean, there's all these other questions going on, so this fight becomes very, very important. A lot more so than the main event, which is an amazing main event as well.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's kind of, like you said, it's floating under the radar a little bit. Yeah. Like Whittaker and Romero definitely getting a lot of attention. It's a pretty stacked card from top to bottom, though. So, I mean, honestly, it's, International Fight Week. There's a lot going on. So there's a ton of attention all over both events this weekend. A lot of good fights. Let's
move on to the main event, and this is the deal with Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko. I really do think that people are kind of letting this thing fly underneath the radar because they believe that because Amanda has been so dominant, and in that dominant win over Ronda has really put her on the map. And as a result, they're like, do we really want to see a rematch of something that she won the first time? You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know if people really want to see wants to see what's happening, but both fighters have become so much better in the last few months, let alone the last year or so, that this becomes a very interesting fight.
Well, you know what? It's kind of, I understand your perspective on it. Like, I mean, that could be a factor, but honestly, as far as betting goes, it's the opposite. Okay. Everybody believes, and that's what scares me about this fight right here. I open Nunes as a slight favorite. You know what I mean? I mean, look at what she's done recently. Obviously, she had the win over Shevchenko before that, right? And then she went on after that and beat Miesha Tate, took the strap from Tate, defended against Ronda Rousey, and beat both ladies in dominant fashion. Mm-hmm. So she just went out there and she looks like a beast. I mean, an absolute killer. So she deserves to be, the favorite over somebody she just beat. But the fact remains that we all know, and it's not a secret out there, that Nunes has conditioning issues. And the deeper the fight goes, she starts wearing down. And, I mean, even the last fight with Shevchenko, she was dominant in round 1. I mean, she almost finished the fight. She was close to Shevchenko. So it was definitely dangerous time for Shevchenko to survive. But that shows how tough she is and the heart and the determination she has to sort of weather that early storm. And then round 2, Nunes was able to win round 2 as well. But round 3, Shevchenko started taking over. Yeah. So this is a 5-round title fight. And if it was 5 rounds during their first meeting, Shevchenko won that fight. I mean, she would have won that fight. There's no question. Nunes was definitely slowing down. So round 3, round 4, I think Shevchenko probably would have got a finish or won the last 3 rounds and won the cards, right? Won a decision. Yeah. So if it was a 5-round fight, the first fight, I firmly believe that Shevchenko would have won that fight. And now all the bettors out there, though, are thinking the same way. So all of them are coming in off Shevchenko because this is a 5-round fight. That's what scares me about this fight. I've been on Shevchenko's bandwagon since she hopped into UFC. She's been making me cash. I mean, on every fight. At first, she was flying under the radar, right? And I knew how talented she was coming in. I mean, she's a well-rounded fighter. In my opinion, she's probably the best female fighter in the UFC roster. She has great wrestling. Yeah. She's got great striking. She has great BJJ. I mean, she's a very complete fighter. She is the most complete fighter, I think, on the UFC roster as far as females go. The only problem is she's a little small for 135 pounds, if you look at her, right? Yeah. She makes up for that size, though, with the amount of skill and technique that she has. So she is definitely deserving of this title shot. And if she wins it, obviously, she's going to be the best 135-pounder in the world in the women's division. She is really good. But what I'm worried about is all of us are pretty much thinking the same thing. All she has to do is weather that storm, and she's going to win. Shevchenko, I mean, right? Yeah. So we're all basically counting the champion, Nunes, out. We're saying, you know what? You're not going to beat this girl early, so you're going to lose the fight late. I started looking back at the footage again of the first fight and looking back at some of their other fights. The truth is, I've changed my tone a little bit on this. When everybody's going one way, sometimes you got to look the other way and think, am I missing something here? Why is everybody looking that way? I think right now that I'm not so sure that Shevchenko can weather that storm again. Like you just said, yeah. I mean, Nunes went out there and destroyed Tate. I mentioned earlier, destroyed Ronda Rousey, she's more confident now than she's ever been before. And that's scary. When you put the confidence in a fighter that has that kind of ability and that kind of knockout power and that kind of finishing ability, I think Nunes is going to be a tougher fight in the first round. So Shevchenko is definitely going to have to weather that first and second round to win this fight. And I'm not so sure she can do it. I think that Nunes realizes that as well. She's going to come out there and she's going to try to finish this fight early. So I'm actually picking Nunes right now. And the line is actually exactly a pick 'em right now, minus 110 either way, right?
Wow.
And the majority of the time I was leaning Shevchenko, but all the action was coming in her way. And I started scratching my head thinking, like I said, are all of us wrong? Are we underestimating the champion? And now I firmly believe that we probably are. I mean, at a pick 'em price, there's probably value on Nunes instead of Shevchenko. And I'm kind of surprised I'm saying this myself, but it is what it is. Go back and look at the footage. I mean, honestly, Shevchenko is a tough chick. She has a pretty solid defense and the will to win. She didn't quit in that fight where a lot of other women probably would have quit. But I do think that, I mean, she was close to getting put out. She was close to getting choked out. Nunes is going to probably put it on her this time, and I don't know if she can survive it. So I'll go against the grain and go against the public, and I'll lean with Nunes this time around as well. So I agree with you with Nunes deserving to be the slight favorite.
I think Nunes has gotten an earful down to American Top Team of her being of fading. I think part of it is that she is in good shape. The problem is that instead of going 85% in the first two rounds, she goes over 100% the first two rounds, so she has nothing left in the third round because she assumes all the time she's going to finish everybody because she has been very dominant even before she got into two title fights. I think that Nunes really now understands that she needs to pace herself a little bit more, which makes it even more scary because now you're trying to pace yourself so that you can go into the third, fourth, and fifth round, and you may not need to. If you would just go out there and blitzkrieg somebody, you might be able to finish her. I agree with you. If she plays the old game of I'm just going to go as hard as I can, I think she puts Shevchenko out really early. I think Valentina is going to fall apart sometime in the second round. But if Amanda decides to try to pace herself, now we have a very interesting fight. But right now, as we've seen how things go, I'm agreeing with you, and I'm sticking with Amanda to come down to this because I really do think that Valentina is not going to be able to get through it. I really don't think she's going to be able to handle the amount of heat and pressure she's going to put on her again this time because it's going to be even more because Amanda's so much more confident.
Yeah, she is. And again, Shevchenko's gotten better. She's confident as well. She's beaten some great fighters along the way. I mean, she's got a good win over Holly Holm. She's got a submission win over Pena. So she's confident right now, too. And she knows in the back of her mind that she can beat Nunes. You know what I mean? Yeah. If she drags it out, if she can survive early, weather that storm, she knows she can beat. So both women are coming in there confident. And that's why I do kind of agree. This is another, like we were talking about the Whittaker-Romero fight. I mean, I could see this fight going either way, honestly, as well. Because, like I said, I think there is a case to be made if it goes into deep waters that Shevchenko has a big edge if it goes that far. But early on, it's going to be all Nunes. So I could see it going either way. But I am going to, like I said, go against the grain. We got to lean towards Nunes because, again, we're probably disrespecting or underestimating her a little bit. And she's a big, strong female fighter at 135 pounds with tremendous finishing ability. So, and you can't say that about a lot of people in the weight class. I mean, let's face it, a lot of the fighters out there, I mean, with the exception of Ronda Rousey, when she was finishing everybody by armbar and submission, you know what I mean? A lot of female fights tend to go to the scorecards. Well, with Nunes, that doesn't happen that much. You know, she finishes fights. That's how she is. A different type of fighter than Rousey, obviously, but she's a finisher just like a fighter like Ronda Rousey was that was reigning champion for a while. So you got to respect females that can finish like that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. Both picks today were in total agreement. We're both main event, co-main event. I mean, this card from the very first fight to the very last fight is a stacked card, as it should be for International Fight Week. They have the Hall of Fame inductions went off, and then obviously the tough finale. It's an amazing weekend if you're in Vegas. I'm assuming that if you're in Vegas, you're going to these fights just because that's all there is to do right now in Vegas. Everyone's talking about the fights. That's what everybody wants to do. Everybody's talking about it. So, yeah, absolutely. What a great card. I can't believe how good this is going to be. I'm really excited to see the Pettis-Miller fight as well, which opens up the pay-per-view just because I want to see where Pettis is at right now, and I want to see how Miller's coming back from his Lyme disease. And let's not forget the final on Fox Sports 1 prelims of Bronner Ornick. That's going to be an amazing heavyweight fight as well. So we could sit here and talk for another hour about each individual fight. It's such a stacked card.
Yeah, really, it is. And then, I mean, before that, we got a little appetizer with a tough finale on Friday night as well. There's a lot of good quality fights this weekend to choose from. I mean, it really is International Fight Week. The UFC does it right. I mean, it's a big spectacle for a reason. And I think they're going to have success regardless because there's a lot of good fights on these cards for sure. Won't disappoint.
Well, that's it for this week here Before the Bell. You're watching us here on MMA Oddsmaker. That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. And, of course, we'll see you next week.